Hey guys, welcome back. Well, I figured I'd show you here right quick what I'm working on. But I got a hydraulic multiplier. Right there we go. This here's a 4 deal. As you can see right there, well, I guess they call it a 2-circuit. You can get them at like a 3-circuit like that. I've even found them online for like, I think even 8 or maybe even a 10, a big long block. But here's what it looks like. And so you just plug this end right here into the tractor, and right there you can hook up. There's 1, 2. But I want to use that for adding that crumbler onto this 30-foot disc right here. So this right here is the wiring harness. Get that cut. And of course, it's always a good idea to take and pull the knife right at you. That way, if you cut yourself, you do it right. Well, not exactly. Oop. Didn't see that one. But I'm going to take and put this right here. This here is the wing control for the wing raising up and down, and right here is for raising the disc itself up and down. And so right now, there we go. What I'm planning on doing is putting the multiplier on the disc wing side. And we'll see how well that works. But I gotta get this wiring and all this kind of stuff all untangled. Okay, here is the power line. You take and you hook that to your battery. There's your little control switch. Now, I am assuming right in the middle, it probably does not activate either one of these solenoids. And then you push it that way to activate what it would be. They have it labeled here. It's either, okay, it's numbered. This side over here is 1, and this side over here is 2. I couldn't remember if they had them numbered or if they had it A, B. But yeah, it looks like we got 1 and 2. And so, like I say, I'm assuming in the middle, everything's turned off that way. For example, would activate 1, back to middle. That way would activate 2. It's got that yellow button, and I'm not exactly sure what that part does. And I can't really even find any kind of information in the instruction page as far as what that button's for. But, you just take and hook these wires right here onto your circuits. In fact, it actually looks like they must share a common ground, and then you got, I'm assuming 2 hots, because one's got to hook up to 1, and one hot has to hook up to 2. I'm going to read over the instructions here and get back with you. Okay, it says attach the white wire to circuit 1, like that. Attach the red wire to circuit 2, which is that guy. And then attach the black wire I'm going to have to double check and see. With them both being grounded, my guess is they probably just share a common ground, because it's about like a combine or a solenoid bank on the combine. It looks almost as well. These popper valves look almost identical, and so they all share a common ground. It just grounds right through the block. And so I did find out what this little button is for. If you push that, it actually activates both circuits together. And that way, when you go to pull back on your hydraulic lever, for example, this side over here would take and raise up the disc wings. This side over here would raise the crumbler together. Well, I don't want that. And so we can just use the toggle switch and activate either one or two individually. Right here on this side where it plugs in the tractor, well, I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but you got your two fittings right here, and they screwed on these here had pipe threads out here on the ends, so I put them on. But this part here, where it's got the pipe thread that goes into the block, that pipe thread is actually not centered. And so as you turn that, I don't know how well you can see that, but it's like an eccentric. And so what it does is, you can see now how both fittings are basically side by side. They're closer together. It's wider over here. You can turn it like that, and it'll actually move them apart. And that's for setting it, that way you can hook the thing into your hydraulic stack in case there's any kind of variance as far as width with your hookups. And so once you get that set, you got that little jam nut right there on each side that you just take and turn in, and it pinches a little O-ring underneath that little flat washer right there. So hopefully you can see. All right, now you can see that right. If you can see that right there, you can see they are not lining up to them ports. I got to dial them in. Move that one this way. Can move that one in. Now, hey, there we go. Now I see how that lined up. Now that might be easier said than done. Trying to hold them lock collars back and get this thing plugged in. Okay, the little snap ring popped out and we are locked on. And actually what I'm going to have to do, in fact, both of our 4840s are kind of notorious for it. The 3-point likes to drop down. And so I'm going to have to either make some or get some stops and put on those cylinders right back there. That way it'll lock the 3-point up and it can't come down. Because with that stuck back there, you got hoses hanging out, yeah, it's going to break them off. Or break that thing, and they aren't cheap. Okay, and right there I'm tightening up that little jam nut. That will basically lock that eccentric in place. Now on this tractor, the actual remote itself for the stack is still set up for the old John Deere fittings. And when we bought this tractor, it was actually set up just like this. Somebody had taken John Deere fittings, used a little short piece of pipe, and then put these Pioneer ISO Pioneer fittings on the end of that little pipe piece to convert it over. Because normally you just have the conversion inside there. But like I say, that's how it was set up when we bought it. And so far it's worked good for us that way, and so we just keep it like that. Go ahead and tighten up the right hand side. Okay, that's got it. I'll go ahead and get the little power line hooked up. Whoop. I thought that was a 1/2 inch. Huh. Well, that one is. May just get a little bit of a burr on it. There we go. But this will get it all hooked up for power-wise. Back this other wiring conduit I got here, that is for my front light bar that I have mounted up on the front weights. And actually I took and 2 of the light bars that I run on the combine in the fall, which I think I've done videos of those. I take one of the big long ones, and then I have a second one just like what I got right there. That right there I think is a 30-inch bar up on the front end. And I've got 2 of those, and I also have 2, I'm trying to remember, I think 52-inch. And in the fall time, I run 130 and 2 52s on the front of the combine to light things up. Well, then come spring, what I do is I take one of the 52s and the 130-inch that I have on the combine, and I put that 30 on the other 48 that is on the corn planter right now. And I put the 52 on the front of the 4955. That way we got good lighting up front and that kind of stuff. And then on this tractor, no, it's on the back of each fender. It used to have the old halogen light back there, and I took those off. I put LEDs there on this tractor and also on the other 48 with the corn planter, and that really brightens things up on the back of it. Now the 49 I've not done that to. In fact, surprisingly, the yellow halogen on it worked pretty good, and so I've not changed those over to LEDs. I may eventually, because I've actually got some for it, but that's kind of one of those projects that you only work on if you have time with absolutely nothing else to do. Okay, and I kind of play with that. I wish that was about a foot longer. We'll see what happens here when I put the battery cover on. That should go over. Get that hinged in like that. Well, get the door shut first. And then that just hinges right down there in the bottom. Same way on the back. Tips over. And then locks down with that little handle. So I should be able to run that right through there, shut the door on it, and it'll be all right. Just got the little control box here mounted up here in the cab. There's one side, there's the other side. And I found out if you push that button and trip it either way, you can see it activates both lights. But we'll keep it individual. That way you can control either the wings or the crumbler separately. And I'm just going to be running the wire out the back window. I've not gotten it hooked up to the valve block yet, and so that's my next job, getting that hooked on. And then I'm going to get my hydraulic hoses that I have to go back across the top of the disc to that hitch that I built. Well, I got these wires hooked up, and sure enough, made a little interesting discovery. They do not share a common ground. And so I actually had to take and add that little wire right there and come up and put one of these little pinch deals in to connect it to the ground coming out of this little harness right here. And so once I did that, it works great. Now I just gotta get the 2 hoses for the disc, and I'm also going to get the 2 20-foot hoses that will go from here, and now route these back along top of the disc, back to that hitch that I built on the back. In fact, I have a video of that from here about a week and a half ago when I built this hitch on the back of the disc. So if you want to check that out, you can. And we'll see how this works. Okay, I got my hose here. Get the fittings on the end. Get a little pipe tape. I always take and make sure I wrap this stuff on in the same direction I'm going to be putting the fittings on. That way it can't, as you tighten them down, it's essentially tightening the thread tape on as it turns down. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of wanting to just all ball up underneath it. Got these fittings. These are just standard Pioneer fittings. Picked them up at Rural King, one of my favorite stores. Would help if I grabbed the right size wrench. There we go, 7/8. Hold the bottom. Just make sure they're on there good and tight, that way they don't leak. All right, that's got that one. Now I got to put the other 3 fittings, this one here, and 2 more on the other hose, and they'll be ready to go on the disc. Right there's what the other end looks like. And so each hose will have one of these on the opposite end, and I will put these fittings on the back of the disc, back by that hitch. And then the hoses from the crumbler will plug right into there, and it'll be good to go. All right, I got one hose laid out. Let's get another one here laid across the top of the disc. Go ahead and hang that. I always take and hang a belt, or you can even use a zip tie. A belt's much stronger though, but just like any old fan belt, that kind of stuff, as long as it's not too long to hang down. But just hook it from the middle hook on your 3-point, and then run my hoses through that. That way they can't hang down and get into the drawbar or get pinched, something like that. And so I'm just going to lay that right through that notch right there, because I can take and, well, I'll probably just take and, since these 2 tabs are kind of flared out, I'll just run a big zip tie around that, and they'll hold them hoses right in there. Then just take and jump up on top without falling off. And I'm just going to take and run this right down between the wing pieces that fold the wings up and down, and drop that back there like that. And probably what I'll do with these hoses back here on the back is I definitely want to keep them even. So depending on how much slack I need up on the front, I can also always just take and coil them up. Like so. And with that, I will probably just take some good heavy zip ties and run right around there. And that way you just plug right in like that. But like I say, I'll know how much slack I need once I get back up on the front end to check that. Okay, the ends up here on the back of the tractor are fairly even. We got pretty much the same amount of slack here in the middle. So that's about what I want. And then they just run right down through here and lay right down beside that cylinder. That should work about like that. Perfect. Now I'll grab a zip tie and run around here. That way they can't pop out. And grab some zip ties and zip tie it on the back. And we're about ready to roll. All right, I got some zip ties. These are just barely long enough, but they work. So I'm going to take and actually just run them kind of like in an X pattern, and that should hold these in place. Hey, there we go. I don't think that's going to go too far. We'll just take and bring that one back to like that and do the same thing. We usually like to try and keep big zip ties like this on hand. Thankfully, we had a Harbor Freight open up, and so you can get a lot of this kind of stuff there for pretty cheap. In fact, I've actually gotten a lot of their hand tools and that kind of stuff to stock in my big boom truck that I've showed you before. Okay, that's got that one. And I may get some dust plugs to put in that. But the crumbler will be plugging into it and it'll be ready to roll. Now for this right here, I may take and well, I may go ahead and grab another zip tie, and I may zip tie it to that point. It needs to have just a little bit of slack in it, not too awful much. And maybe take and an old zip tie right here around this big tube. That way they can't go anywhere. But that should have it. Now I'm going to put the zip tie up on the front. Okay, just wrap that right around there. Like that. And that can't come out with them hoses. But yeah, it still lets a little bit of give. They go down through here. Now I gotta figure out which either forward or back on the toggle switch operates either stack 1 or stack 2. And the best way to test that is to simply plug the disc in and see which one will operate the wings. Okay, I'm just going to plug into port 1. In fact, actually, I'm going to have to take and untangle some of these hoses. Run that back that way. Kind of got hoses going everywhere. This here is actually the left. Well, I keep it on the left side when I unplug it. Let's put those guys over there out of the way for right now. With this setting so much further back, It's going to be kind of tricky to work here. Okay, we'll plug that one in the top, and the one from the right hand side will plug into the bottom. Okay, and the end is still good and clean because I just simply pulled it out of the plug and laid it back, so we're good to go there. There, we got it. And like I say, with these being moved back, I may actually have to get another belt. That way it'll hang off this way. But as you can see, that's what I was talking about. If that quick hitch comes down, it's going to hit them hoses. And so I've got to take and get some stops and put up in them cylinders. That way it just holds the quick hitch up in the air all the time. Okay, I just started the tractor up. And let's see here. The short lever is hooked to that multiplier. And so let's just go with, let's go forward and see which way that operates. Well, we'll see if that's hooked up on number 1 for forward. Let's see. All right, nothing happened. Let's go back. All right. Okay, back is number 1 and forward is 2. Then right in the middle is nothing. Let's verify that. Yeah, middle does nothing. So I need to get something in the right on there, like 1, 2. Which actually I would have thought they would have had that on there, but they don't. And then I can put like a W for wings and a C up here for crumbler. But other than that though, it looks like it's going to work pretty good. Just taking through that back into float to relieve the pressure. And hey, I think that should have it. I'll go ahead and hook these 2 lines here up as well. And on this here, I have no idea which one goes where. So I'm just going to put them in on, hook that one in the top, and it acts like it's got a little bit of pressure again so I can feel it. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and plug this one here into the bottom hookup like that. That's got it. And like I say, I think I'm going to get me another belt and hang from right here. That way it'll help hold up some of that, and you don't have a whole bunch of slack just literally dangling around. And so that should have that. Well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to call that an end of this video, but this has just been a little video showing how I'm hooking up hoses, multiplier, and plumbing it all up to be able to pull that 35-foot crumbler. So take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.